Hello, FPL managers. You are welcome to another wonderful edition of the FPL Ambassadors Show. Um, Glad to be here after a Champions League semi-final with one of the greatest managers worldwide. I know he doesn't like to be called like that, but he's an elite 1,000 top manager worldwide and um, unofficial pundit of the Premier League's official FPL show. Glad to have him here once again. He was with us last season, gave us an awesome show with the boys, but the boys are not here. But glad to have PRAS from the UK with us. Hello, PRAS. How are you and how has your evening been so far?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be back on the show. And watched some football. It's a little late in the UK, 10:30. I think it's even later for you. But no,
No, no. I think rather we are behind you by an hour in Ghana because of the British summertime.
yeah.
Yes, please. Okay, great. So, as I was telling you, I had to sleep to get some energy for the day because it was a very hectic day so far. So I don't even have an idea about what happened in the PSG game. So could you kindly brief us and tell us what it is? Because boys always want to know about what happened in the game.
Well, I think even, but the beginning of second half, Dortmund had a lot of chances, and I think they should have made it 2-0. And at the end, PSG also had some chances. So I think on reflection, it's a fair result. The home team winning 1-0, but
One
all
nil.
to play for, right? When they go back and play in Paris next week.
Sure. It's just a reminder to PSG or Dortmund that even when Barca came to win 3-2 at Parc des Princes, when PSG went back to the Camp Nou, no, not necessarily the Camp Nou, the other stadium, they won there as well. So that's good to know to hear about. But it still doesn't affect FPL because all our FPL teams are actually out of the Champions League, except Aston Villa, who are still playing the Europa Conference League semi-finals as
Correct.
well. So,
Correct.
Price, how has your season been so far? For me, it's not been too good. So my season, actually, due to some work-related issues and family issues and stuff like that, for the first 2 months of the season, I actually wasn't really playing. So it took
Okay.
my co-host Roland. I set up my team in July when the FPL was launched, and just made the initial Gameweek 1 team. And what he told me was that even when I don't want to play, the best thing he will do is that every week on Friday late afternoon, he will call me and just suggest one transfer for me to do. So I was doing blind transfers. I was just doing. He said it, otherwise, by the time I would come back, the team would be injured players. So every week he calls me, I just do one transfer. So I came back actually around Game week 8, Game week 9, and when I came, guess where my team was? I was at 5 million worldwide. So I had to I had to find a way to crawl back my team all the way from 5 million worldwide. Now I was able to hit 800K as by Game week 20, but I don't know, since Game week 20 I've been moving backwards. So I've moved all the way back to 1.8 million as my last check. So my target is to at least hit 1 million, but it looks very hard as at now with just 3 game weeks left. But with my free hits and my bench boost in my pocket, I think maybe I can be able to make, at least even if I make 1.5 million, I think that would be a good end to a very, very terrible start to a season as well.
No, I
How
think
has your season been?
with two chips, I think you should be able to crack 1 million. I hope you do it.
Yeah,
Season.
yeah.
I
So
started
for me,
slowly.
mhm.
No, go on.
No, you're making a point about your season.
Yeah. So I was saying, for me, the start was slow. Like even by game week 8, 9, I was like 3 million. But then I recovered really well. The wild card was very good. Up until maybe 3, 4 weeks ago, I was about 30K. Um,
Okay.
but last 2 weeks, game week 34, I was not on a free hit,
Ah,
and then this week also, even after playing the wild card, it's not been so good. So I feel now I'm around 45K. I think I didn't really check midweek, but I would
mhm,
guess I'm around that. So it's not
mhm,
great, right? Going into the last 3 game weeks, because I don't think top 10K is achievable now. It's too late unless the bench boost
mhm,
becomes really incredible.
Incredible.
So I would think around top 25K would be my aim, and hopefully I'll make it.
Okay. 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 That's quite good over there. So that's impressive to know. But I think for the past 2 seasons, it means that you might have missed the top 10K mark
Yeah.
for the second season as well. But at least still you always make the top 50K in those 2 seasons that why you weren't able to make it as well.
Yeah, top 50K is always the basic aim. But if,
Mm,
you have to be a little lucky. You can't get it every season. So some
yeah.
seasons when you're not that lucky, it's okay. I don't mind it. At the end, the rank is not. It's the journey, not the end.
Yes, yes, yes. It reminds me about before I say this, I might have to just condolence to my first FPL mentor. So I'm a chemical engineer by training, but now I'm a math teacher as well. Most people ask why I teach math. I said for me, having been very good in math, being part of the science and math quiz team of my high school team, and really, really helping. I said, why don't I help people with that? But I'm actually planning to go and do my PhD in education later this year, most likely in the
Okay,
States as well. When it's confirmed, I'll surely let you know about it. So my
super.
FPL mentor is he did petrochemical engineering, and he's in Canada. No, he was in Canada, and I learned a lot from him. And he's always been my go-to guest anytime any of my main guests is not around. It might be because of time difference as well. But sad to say, he passed away just last year, December.
Oh,
So yes, so sad
that's
for me.
very
So
sad to hear.
anytime I come on the show, I just remember him. So normally I'm like, because anytime I want to have some debate about one or two stuff, he's always there. And normally because of the time difference, you send him the message. By the time you wake up in the morning, he gives you the reply on every single thing that you knew, and it's always really, really good to have it there. But it's still an encouragement for us that, as he said, one of the shows that we had was about how to win FPL. A key thing he said was that FPL is a marathon and not a sprint race. So he says that it's always tactical. You take your time, always make sure you are close to the pack. So if it's the mini league, you always make sure around the top five around that area. And just in the final 10, which he says that is when you unleash your chips and then you're always good to go. So I
Yeah.
picked up some valuable lessons from Aku, precious Aku. May he so rest in perfect. But at least it's all good because it was from his tips that helped me to win the overall best manager in Ghana in 2020. The reason
Yeah.
behind this show, because people were like, after you have won, what are you doing for the community? So I do write articles, but writing articles is a little bit much tough compared to doing the live show because you have to edit, let people read it, and so it's like, no, I want to rather commit more to this and have a team as that. So it's good to have you here. So let's move straight to game week 36. Looking at the horizon, we have 36 and 37. So looking at you who are carded in 35, looking at the Spurs and then the Spurs and the Chelsea players extensively for 35, and managers who didn't have the wild card but had to find a way to get the Spurs players in 35. What are the key things that we need to look for going 36 and then into 37, which most managers are going to bench boost?
So I think let's take it team by team, right? I think
No.
Spurs, even though they had the double this week, it was a very difficult double, right? When you play home to
Yes.
we'll see what happens away to Chelsea tomorrow. So it was a difficult one, and some people like me, we didn't even triple up on Spurs because it was just not an easy double.
Yes.
Game week 35, um, Spurs play Liverpool, which is okay. Liverpool we've seen are not in form, and
Yeah.
so double which involves Burnley, and then 38 they play Sheffield United. So I think there's two good fixtures for Spurs, and I think getting a triple up with them would be nice. I think Chelsea are a team that I think if people don't have a second attacker like Jackson or Gallagher, also a good team because everybody has Palmer. So
Yeah.
even though Jackson is frustrating for people, I think he still gets a lot of chances. So it's worth getting him if you can, and maybe a defender. So I like Chelsea and Spurs from that perspective, just because of the number of games they still have left. Um, and and yeah, I mean those are the two that you wanted to sort of mention. But apart from that, Man City are obviously the team that are going for the title, that will probably
Yeah.
have a lot to play for and not rotate so much. So also a team to look at.
Okay, good. So I think when you mentioned Jackson, it just reminded me about a question I asked I think either last week or a few weeks ago on social media, that so between Jackson and Nunes, choose one. Who would you choose?
Uh, I think Jackson does a little bit more for the team, like in terms of the hold up play, even in terms of how he involves the wingers. I think Nunes can be sometimes erratic, even outside of the finishing. I think both are good players and both have a bad name. Um, have to improve their finishing for sure. But I think at the moment, Jackson is doing more for his team than Darwin is for his team.
I think Pranel late riser for always tends to like Nunes at one point in time, and for me, I never owned Nunes the whole season. I think I got him around game week 32 coming because I knew Liverpool had some very good fixtures,
Hmm.
and as you expect, flattered to deceive, he didn't do anything for me. So actually, I sold him just last week, and to get Isak, I think last 2 weeks to get Isak, and I think that is the way to go there. So so that is it. So let's look at City. So the triple up, Foden has some shout for Premier League Player of the Season. So Foden, Haaland, how do you do the combination for the three going to game week 37? So would you look at? I know Foden will be a constant. So would you add Haaland and De Bruyne together, or do you think you have Vardio and then De Bruyne, or Haaland and then Vardio? How do you think the combo should be for most managers, depending on their team structure?
I think Haaland is quite necessary because he's fit now and he looked sharp,
Yeah,
even in the
yeah.
small cameo that he had. So I think
Mhm.
Haaland and Foden are a given. And then it comes
Okay.
down to your team, right? I mean, yes, probably De Bruyne is very good and a great third choice. But then there's a lot of midfielders right now in the game that are very good and have a double, right? You can think of
Yes.
Palmer, you can think of Son, you can think of Fernandez, you can think of Anthony Gordon. So there are a lot of players that have that good double in midfield. So
Mhm.
if you go for De Bruyne, then who are you sacrificing to get one of them? So the easy choice, because there's not a lot of defenders in the game, is to go for a Guardiola or even an Edison if he's fit. So I think
Mhm.
my preference is still getting a third defender rather than De Bruyne necessarily.
Okay, okay. I think if it is Pranel, so I said you and Pranel are two of my top three mentors. So the third one is Mark Sutton's. So I know Pranel would necessarily go all out attack because he
Yeah.
would always say, yes, he will go for De Bruyne and then De Bruyne, Foden, and Haaland, and then he says that get the best players in the best team. So
Yeah.
invariably, whatever it is, that is how. So for me, for a while now, what I do is Mark doesn't post a lot nowadays. So I come and read. I come and read your tweets, pick your ideas, go and pick Pranel's ideas, then I try and balance
Mm.
which way I'm. But it's always quite good to have people who think like-minded like you, or people who give you a different idea. I see Pranel to be more risky, and I see you to be more balanced. So
Yes.
depending on the kind of mood I'll decide which one to read first and use the other one to balance the other. So I think it's working too good for me for now, even though the result I'm not showing. But one thing I told myself after winning FPL last 2020, I want to give myself about 3 years, understand the way I play the game myself, pick up ideas from others, and then polish up so that then you can look at how to go. Because some people are teasing, since you won in Ghana, you've not done. I'm like, don't worry. There's always a time to fine tune your own skill, understand yourself, and then know how to go out. So that's this for City. So before I continue, talk of De Bruyne. For me like this, my plan is that I'm bench boosting in 37 and then I'm free hitting in 38.
Yep.
So I have my free hits. And you notice that Liverpool and then Arsenal have very good fixtures in 38. And most
Yep.
people might be shipping out those players in 37. What do you advise for managers? Do they keep one of these guys, or they just focus on 37 and then when they get to 38, they go around it? How do you think managers should navigate that?
So I think Liverpool and Arsenal is slightly different. Liverpool are sort of the wheels are falling off. You saw that even Salah was benched in the last game.
Interesting.
They're out of the league now, right? I mean, they probably nailed down the fourth place, but they're not going to come first. So
Mhm.
motivation levels are a little different as compared to Arsenal. It's completely the opposite, where Arsenal are going for the league. Goal difference continues to matter. So and their defense is really really good. So I think like even on wildcard, even though they don't have a double, I picked both White and Gabriel because there's a lot of potential. in those two. So
Okay.
I think there is merit to looking at some Arsenal players, even if um, you're bench boosting in 37. But
Mhm.
the difference is maybe your team, because you don't need them in 38. You can just get them on the free hit in 38. So maybe in your case, you don't have to get a lot, but you're in a unique position. Not many people have their free hit left.
Many people are like
So,
this. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
so the ones who have it left, I think it's okay to go for one or two Arsenal players, even though they don't have a double.
Okay. So more or less like if you have Saka, you keep Saka. If you have maybe Gabriel, you keep Gabriel. And then maybe if it is Havertz that you are selling between Havertz and Saka, you are selling one. Just make a plan that in 38 you are getting one of them back for that
Exactly.
38 very good fixture.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, spot on. So we've dealt with City, we've dealt with Spurs, we've dealt with Chelsea. So you're left with Brighton, Newcastle, and then United. What are the prime players that managers should look for? Because most of the transfers in 36 are all planning towards 37. So even though we are in 36, you're actually looking way ahead in 37.
Yeah.
What are some of the key players they need to look there?
So I think Brighton, no need to touch them because they have completely left. They have left for their holidays already. It looks like
No, no,
they
no.
are not. Sorry.
Yeah, so actually, what's happened with Brighton? Because I'm really surprised. I just don't get what. Did you have any info? Do you think there's anything behind whatever is happening? Because Deserve is one of the most tactical brains that even Pep has praised him, and all of a sudden, like everything is really bad. Oh,
Look, I think it's just they've been unlucky with injuries. A lot of injuries, right? When you lose Mitoma, March, for a long period of time, you lose. You've sold midfielders like Casado, McAllister. You've had injuries to
mhm,
Stupinian, now Van Heck, and so many more, right? Even during the period, João Pedro was out, so it's just
okay,
very difficult to adapt when something like that happens. So it's been difficult, and for a team like that, now there's no motivation. I think they just
okay,
end the season with not much upside. So avoid Brighton.
okay,
If there was one pick I would
okay.
say would be Pascal Gross, but again, not really worth it. Or João Pedro.
Because the midfielder slots are always very competitive, and then you won't be able to fit in there.
Exactly. Exactly. Now coming
Okay.
to Newcastle, I think there's three or four decent picks there. So Isak, he keeps doing well and he's a good pick as a striker. I think Gordon is a good pick as well as a second attacker. And then for a defender, I went for Share on my wildcard, but he looks to have a little injury. You could go for Burn. Even Trippier could be back by game week 37. So
Cool.
get
Interesting.
get getting a Newcastle defender, even though defense has been not great, but they play Brighton at home, which should be a good, and their home form is very good. So I would say those guys would be the picks from Newcastle.
What about Gordon, Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, I think Gordon is a good pick in midfield. If you can fit him, I think yeah, I have him on my wild card and happy to have him.
Happy to keep him okay there. Okay, good. So then United.
Not very nice. Look, I think Bruno is a good pick, regardless of how United play, because he creates a lot of chances. He's on penalties. He takes corners. Um, so I think he's still a good pick. I would rate him highly. In defense, there's nobody because Man United don't keep clean sheets. We've just conceded to Sheffield United and Burnley. So how can you expect to not concede against Palace, Newcastle, and Arsenal? Clean sheet. If you wanted to go
Mhm.
for somebody like an Onana because he makes a lot of saves, okay, I can understand that. But I don't think there's huge upside.
Okay. Okay. So what about those who are looking at Ganacho because of his budget friendly price in making up their place? So you think that Ganacho is still not worth it at that price point?
I think if you have him, he's okay. You can hold him.
Mhm. Okay.
I would buy Bruno if you wanted to get a guy from Man United. Like he's the guy in form. But Garnacho is fine. I think he's the second best because Rashford has been having injuries and Garnacho is firing in front of goal. So it's difficult.
Okay. So based on this, so somebody might have played his bench boost in 34 and there might be free hitting in 37. So more or less like who would so based on all that we've said, what would be the optimum five midfielders? Your optimum
If you're
five
free,
midfielders
if you're
for
free hitting in 37, um, and
mhm,
and okay, so I would have Saka and Havertz. because they
Okay.
have good fixtures in 37, 36 and 38. I
Okay.
would probably still have Man City, so I would have, let's say, even a De Bruyne. I would not have a Bruno. I would not have a Gordon. Um, so there is space in midfield to get somebody like that. Um, I think it's still worth having a Son because as I mentioned, he plays Sheffield United in Gameweek 38, so you should have him. Palmer,
Okay.
so I think that would be my midfield.
Okay. Okay. Good. So managers who don't have the free hit in 37, who are using their transfers bit by bit to do a bench boost, what will be the prime midfield five that they should look at?
Um, I would say definitely Palmer, definitely Son.
Okay.
Then it comes down to preference, right? Because
Okay.
you probably want Richarlison if you can get to
Okay.
him. You probably want Bruno. I would say Bruno Fernandes, slightly above
Okay.
Anthony Gordon. Um,
Okay. Your
and
City players, City midfielders.
Foden. Foden. I would definitely have Foden.
Okay. So more or less like Son is essential, Palmer is essential, Foden is essential. So these three, and then you find a way of preference around either Bruno, Gordon, or either you want to go for a De Bruyne again, or maybe
Or Richarlison.
Richarlison or Richarlison.
Yeah.
What about Bernard Johnson? For me, I actually was looking at the stats for Spurs, looking at the certificate, and I noticed that Bernard Johnson has really been under the radar for quite a while now. What do you think about him, or you think that he's not really worth looking at going to 37?
He didn't even start, right, against Arsenal because
I
they
was
played
shocked.
Kulusevski.
Seriously, I was shocked.
Yeah. So, but look, the thing is now Richarlison is back. I expect Son to play on the left, Richarlison to play on the
Mm,
up top, and then on the right it's between Kulusevski and Johnson. So you don't want a guy
okay,
who's getting rotation, playing in your team when there's a better alternative in Richarlison who's going to play striker.
okay, okay, okay. That is good. So managers, Price has dealt with the midfield options for us, and that is quite clear. Up front, three for next week 37.
Haaland, Isak. So I think those two are clear, and I think third would for
Okay.
me still be Jackson because of his double.
Nicholas Jackson. Ghanaians have given him a very funny name. They started calling him Ayite Jackson. So that's okay. So at least those three, because we are building a 15-man squad. So managers will understand it's a 15-man squad because of the bench boost for most managers. So that is the okay. So then in defense,
Defense very difficult. It's very
yeah,
difficult to have defenders that are Arsenal defenders are still good. So you can pick Gabriel, you can pick White. I think Guardiola is a good shout from City. I would say
okay,
Porro still is okay because of the two
okay,
good fixtures that I talked about. So Porro is good.
okay.
Um,
Mm,
we just heard today that Ben Davis is out now, so maybe Emerson Royal plays a couple of games. So I don't know if
okay.
he's a pick.
Mm.
And then it gets tricky, right? I mean, maybe a Maguire. If Gusto was fit, you could go for Gusto, but not many options in defense, unfortunately. You're on,
That's that.
you're on your own to pick good defenders.
You're on to decide there. So more or less like what your guys tell you. But some quite essential players is that you have Vadio from City. So we have Vadio, you have Poro. At least these two, if you are looking, these
Maybe
two
a
because of
Newcastle
double
defender,
game.
so like
And then Newcastle
Burn
defender.
or Share or Trippier.
Sure. Yeah, so these three are the very essential, more or less like very essential. And then your other two, you can decide to have one Arsenal defender because you need the Arsenal defender in 38. So more or less like between Gabriel and White. And then your fourth other one, if you want to throw the dice and maybe want to get a Maguire or someone like that. Okay.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
goalkeepers for 37.
Very hard. You could go for Petrovic from Chelsea. You could go from Vicario from
Spurs.
Spurs. You can go Edison if he's fit. I think he's the latest is that he's okay. He didn't get injured. You could go
Mhm.
for Onana, or you just go for a single game week keeper like Raya. I think those are the options.
Right. Sure. So for me, like I have Raya and I'm not selling. No, I'll sell him. No, maybe I'm a bit confused. I have not checked my transfers again. But if I wasn't free hitting, and you have right, I think you should keep him because you need him in 38. So
Yes.
the advice to managers is that don't, how do you call it? Don't chop off your team all in the way to get the benefits in 37, and then you get 38. They're like, who? What kind of team do I have? Because you need to be looking at 38 as well. So they are, yeah, yeah, looking at all the two as well. So okay, that's very good. I think we were mentioning the defenders. So we mentioned, I think I just remembered. So Vadio, Poro, and Newcastle defender in Ben or Share, and then Gusto of Chelsea. I
Yep.
think he's back in training. So those four, and then most likely your Arsenal defender. If you want to go with
Exactly.
players you are very much assured of, and then you will also need them in 38, because then you don't want to put yourself in a situation whereby in 38 you are really struggling and trying to do a -8 last day of the season. But last day of the season, most of the time the lineups are a bit funny. You see, or
Yeah.
except those who are competing either for the trophy or fighting a relegation battle. So more or less like that. Okay, good then. Okay. So do you think managers should rather bank their transfer in 36 to have two free transfers in 37, or I think that they can still go straight forward this week, and then whatever happens next week they face it?
I mean, let's look at the fixtures, right? I mean, if you want to get another Chelsea player, this is a good week to do it because they are home to West Ham. If you wanted to
Okay.
get another Man City player, it's a good week. They're home to Wolves. But apart from
Okay.
that, I think if you wanted a Newcastle player or a Man United player, or even a Spurs players, you don't have to do it this week. You can just roll your transfer and get them next week because they have away games which are not so easy to call
Let's use
this
this
week.
again.
Even though Newcastle Burnley is decent, but Newcastle have not
Yeah.
been a good team away from home. So
Away
I
from
would
home.
say
Okay.
in those cases you can wait, but in cases where you can add a third Man City easily, or a Chelsea, then yeah, that can happen this week.
Okay. So some managers sold Saka on their wild card 35. What advice do you give them? Should they scramble back to get him, or they should just ignore the 36 fixture? They should just take the chain on the blow. I thought they take the blow on the chain, go through
Yep.
37, and then buy him in 30. So I think they should buy him now and just ignore everything.
No, I think they should be patient. You need to see through your plan, right? Sometimes you can be unlucky in 1 week, but over 2 3 weeks, hopefully, because Saka doesn't have a double, that you can make up, with the other player that you went, maybe Bruno or De Bruyne or somebody who you went for instead of Saka. Maybe they will catch up. So you should not panic. You should stick to the plan.
Okay, okay, spot on then. So, managers, I think because of the game, everybody here was up and down. Some people, in Ghana normally, I know it's the same in the UK. People normally watch the games at the pub, so they are now on their way home. So when they get, they'll take their time and watch the video as well. But it's really really great to really have you here,
My
Pras, for
pleasure.
this prompt show. I know it's now 10:55 in the UK, almost 11, but glad to really have you here. And the guys say they are really grateful to have you here once again. We look
Yeah.
forward to this season. We look forward to doing some preseason shows. So when those times as well, at least we can have you one. At least we have you once a year. At least for us, we are happy. That's enough for us as well.
No, my
So
pleasure.
thank
Anytime.
you
Let,
also.
let me know, and I'm happy to come and look. Wish you all guys all the best, and for your seasons as well as your show.
Yes, please as well. So all the best to you as you look to maybe hit the top 10K, but if not, at least top 25K. We wish you all the
Thank
best
you.
for that as well.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very much.
much.
So, managers, just reminder to all managers, deadline is on Friday. Friday deadlines are very tricky. Don't normally people wake up on Saturday morning and they start asking what questions. Please, it's a Friday deadline, 5 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. BST. So managers should all check that as well as we look forward to this game week. No need to panic if you made some transfers in 35 and they are not working. Just relax, take your time, look at the horizon again, study the game, study the lineups, and then decide in 37. But as Pras said, if you want to make some transfers ahead, you can get some City players ahead of time. You can get some Chelsea players ahead of time because definitely you will get them in 37 as well. And then just take your time and just we'll see how it goes. And most importantly, when you are selling your Arsenal players, don't sell all of them because you need them in 38. And even Liverpool have a very good fixture in 38. So always don't just look at the double game weekend and get 38 and like what is. As for me, I have my free hits, so I'm not bothered about it. But if you don't have your free hits, look at all of these as well. So first, thank you so very much as well. And I hear. Yes, before I go, I hear Tuchel is coming to United. What do you say about it?
It's speculation. It's
I
speculation at the
know.
moment. He's a good manager.
Mhm.
We'll see. Look, I think there are problems. Good managers have come to Man United before, and it has not worked out. So there are structural
Mhm.
issues. So it's not just about the manager. I think we need to be careful. But I think he's a good manager. I wouldn't mind if he can come.
Yes, for me, I'm very happy that the backroom staff is changing a little bit. That I mean, the hierarchy, the management. So I have this Omar Barada from City, which is
Yeah.
like a very good, because you need. I think Ronaldo's interview that he did before the World Cup was more like things are not good, and we
Yes.
until you try to catch up with modern trends, you always be a little bit behind. So it's not only the manager. The fans are always concerned about the manager, but if the people behind you. Look at I listened to the Brighton CEO's interview with it was like I was amazed because it looks like there's something they are doing in the background that is bringing about the results. So if
Yeah.
United also focuses on doing that, the results will come with time. But it's more like people are just short, how do you call it? Short changing the process, trying to just quickly find quick solution. But if they take their time, the result, because Ferguson did a very good job, and I think the management it was expected to happen, but it shouldn't have happened for this very long for it to catch up. So I think maybe this time they are taking their time to put things in place, and I wish all the best for United. Van Nistelrooy was
For
one of
sure.
my top few best strikers of all time. So even though I'm a Madrid fan, I always really watch United games, and I really wish for the best for you as well. Then,
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you. And good luck to
thank you.
Madrid for the second leg.
Yes, please. Okay. Okay, we'll meet and we'll talk also as well then. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye then. Bye.